If you average out the View hosts, among the dumbest people on television.
Sunny's dumb. Certainly not the brightest person. And what she just said just doesn't make any sense. It's just like so silly to say. It's not a well thought out. It's like if you had an idea for a premise and you like it was totally baked and half baked and you went on stage with it and it's nothing
Just
there.
go for it. Yeah,
there's nothing there.
I mean, Pat, you're married. Tom, you're married. If your husband's doing something, if he's allegedly doing something like this, you guys would know if your wives are up to some nefarious stuff. But let's just not forget who she is. She's been, for years, lecturing America about morality, inequality, systemic failures. And look at her track record. How many times does she have to go on in the past 2 months and look at the camera and do a legal apology for all this stuff?
Sunny Hostin, known for her outspoken opinions on The View, is making headlines. But this time, it's not about her. The spotlight has shifted to her husband, Dr. Emmanuel Hostin, a respected orthopedic surgeon and the owner of Host Orthopedics and sports medicine. Unfortunately, the attention isn't flattering. Dr. Hostin is at the center of a legal storm involving accusations of insurance fraud, kickbacks, and a massive RICO lawsuit. And when I say massive, I mean blockbuster drama massive. 180 defendants, jaw-dropping allegations, and enough twists to rival a primetime legal thriller. Let's break it down. The RICO Act, originally designed to target organized crime, has been invoked in this case. But instead of mob bosses and gangsters, the defendants include doctors, surgeons, and medical practices. Think of it as a bizarre mix of Grey's Anatomy and The Wolf of Wall Street. The alleged crimes? Exploiting the healthcare system through unnecessary surgeries and fraudulent insurance claims. Imagine this. Patients undergoing operations they didn't need, insurers footing the bills.
I agree with mostly everything that's been said. I mean, we know that, only about 31% of Americans trust our healthcare system. We have a terrible healthcare system. And, doctors suffer because of big corporations as well. Doctors that want to do good, like my husband, operates on someone even though they don't have insurance and then has to sue health insurance companies to get paid for the work that he's been trained his whole life to do.
And money changing hands behind closed doors like a high-stakes poker game in hospital corridors. The lawsuit accuses Dr. Hostin and others of accepting financial kickbacks for recommending or performing surgeries, procedures that may not have been medically necessary. We're not talking about life-saving interventions here. These are minimally invasive joint surgeries, like arthroscopies, often considered routine. But the allegations suggest something far more sinister, that these procedures were used as pawns in a profit-driven scheme. Now, pause for a moment. Think about the trust you place in a doctor. When you visit a physician, you expect your health and well-being to come first. The idea that a doctor might prioritize profit over patient care, that's a betrayal that cuts deep, emotionally, physically, and even financially. For the patients involved, the fallout could be devastating. But this isn't just about Dr. Hostin and the medical practices accused in the case. Enter the plaintiff, American Transit Insurance Company.
I want a citizen that has a policy. I mean, I'm not saying that Joe Rogan should be removed from Spotify. He's got 11 million listeners. He's got $100 million, contract as of 2020. But I do think as the podcast platform, you have to have some sort of guidelines. How about a disclaimer on his podcast that says, this is misinformation? How about removing some of the podcasts that disseminate this misinformation?
They have.
And that's
Attic. They allege they've been defrauded out of millions, claiming they were billed for surgeries that either didn't happen or weren't necessary. To put it bluntly, they're saying they paid for premium healthcare but got served something far less valuable. However, before we paint Attic as the hero of this story, it's worth noting that insurance companies often operate in murky waters themselves. Over the years, they've faced accusations of underpaying claims, exploiting loopholes, and making it incredibly difficult for doctors to get reimbursed. So the question arises, is this lawsuit a genuine attempt to expose a large-scale healthcare scam, or is Attic using it as a smokescreen to cover up its own shortcomings? Could this even be a desperate move to recover losses in tough financial times?
People that always do the pointing, and it always comes back to them, all right? So when you said this is the largest RICO case ever filed in the state of New York, you guys wrap that around your brain. That's bigger than the mafia case. Like the mafia one was number one. This one takes it over. So he was scamming insurance companies from taxi drivers, Uber drivers, and Lyft drivers. He was performing unnecessary surgeries and then providing fraudulent medical services in exchange for.
The stakes couldn't be higher. On one side, you have doctors accused of betraying the Hippocratic Oath. On the other, an insurance company fighting to maintain its credibility. And in the middle are patients, ordinary people who trusted their doctors to act in their best interest. This case doesn't just impact the individuals involved, it strikes at the heart of an already fragile healthcare system. Cases like this erode trust in medical professionals and deepen skepticism toward insurance companies, leaving patients caught in an impossible bind.
Loving it.
I saw you on The View.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's been overwhelming my past couple days. So I just went in there, did my thing. I had no idea what to expect. I didn't know who Sunny Hostin was. I actually still really don't know. So I wasn't expecting necessarily for her to kind of try to ambush me in that way and attack my character in that way.
Well, it is the show that people love to hate.
Yes, that's true.
They get so much hate watching viral clips of them saying ridiculous things. I mean, it is a rabies infested hen house.
As the lawsuit moves forward, the questions keep piling up. Were the surgeries genuinely unnecessary? Or is this case being exaggerated? Did the accused knowingly participate in fraud? Or are they being dragged into a legal mess unfairly? And perhaps most importantly, what happens to the patients if it's proven they were subjected to surgeries they didn't need? For Dr. Hostin, the implications are serious. His reputation and career are on the line, and his practice is under intense scrutiny. Even if he's cleared of wrongdoing, the cloud of suspicion will likely linger.
Her husband accused of committing federal insurance fraud in a lawsuit. Okay, now let's read this. Rob, is this a video?
Well, I have this. I'll show you this about.
Let me just read this and I'll come to you. So, Dr. Emmanuel Manny Hostin, an orthopedic surgeon and husband of The View co-host Sunny Hostin, is accused in December lawsuit fraudulently billing insurance. By the way, this is a Daily Caller story I'm reading. The lawsuit alleges Hostin knowingly provided fraudulent medical and other healthcare services in exchange for kickbacks and or compensation, and names him among nearly 200 defendants in one of New York's largest RICO cases. Wow. Hostin's attorney, Daniel Twites, denies the allegations, calling the lawsuit a meritless attempt by a near-bankrupt insurance carrier to intimidate doctors and restrict healthcare benefits. The case involves claims that Hostin performs unnecessary surgeries on patients after minor accidents without exploring less invasive treatments, with American Transit citing New York's 1974 no-fault law as contributing to widespread.
And for Sunny Hostin, this situation brings an unwelcome spotlight to her personal life. As a public figure, she's no stranger to scrutiny, but this level of personal and professional exposure is undoubtedly a challenge she never expected. This isn't just a story about one doctor or a high-profile lawsuit. It's a deep dive into the cracks of a healthcare system fraught with fraud, exploitation, and mistrust. It's a tale of allegations, legal battles, and a system teetering under the weight of its own flaws. At the center of this whirlwind is Dr. Hostin, accused of being part of one of the largest medical fraud cases in history. The lawsuit is in its early stages, and while many details remain unclear, one thing is certain: this isn't going away anytime soon. The courtroom drama ahead promises all the twists and turns of a Hollywood thriller. Will the truth come out, or will the case reveal even more hidden vulnerabilities in an already fragile healthcare system? Representing Dr. Hostin is his outspoken lawyer, Daniel Thwaites, who is pulling no punches. Thwaites has dismissed the lawsuit as a desperate attempt by ADC, a company allegedly struggling to stay afloat financially, to shift blame and recover losses. Labeling ADC as the real culprit in this scenario, Thwaites is using a classic legal strategy: deflect the accusations back at the accuser. This strategy is only adding more fuel to an already explosive case. Then there's Joe Rogan, who's never one to hold back. He's thrown his hat into the ring, criticizing Sunny Hostin, co-host of The View and Dr. Hostin's wife. On his podcast, Rogan didn't mince words. He accused The View of hypocrisy, highlighting Sunny's frequent critique of others while her husband faces allegations of fraud. Rogan's harsh comments, including a jab at the intelligence level of the show's hosts, were blunt but well received by his audience. Meanwhile, Sunny Hostin's reaction, or lack thereof, has drawn significant attention. Known for her bold takes on controversial issues, her silence on this matter is deafening. Is she quietly supporting her husband, strategically distancing herself from the drama, or is this silence the result of legal advice? Whatever the case, her decision to stay quiet is sparking just as much speculation as any statement she could have made. The scope of this lawsuit is massive. Dr. Hostin is just one of 180 defendants, including other doctors, medical practices, and even hospitals. If the allegations hold, this could be one of the largest cases of medical fraud in history. Imagine a heist film, but instead of bank robbers, it's healthcare professionals exploiting the system and allegedly pocketing millions. But at its core, this case goes beyond one doctor or even this lawsuit. It raises critical questions about the state of healthcare itself. How much trust can patients place in a system that seems, at times, more focused on profits than care? When people seek medical help, they expect compassion and healing, not to be caught up in a web of corruption and greed. Adding another layer of complexity is the role of ADC in all this. Could their lawsuit be a distraction from their own financial troubles? Are they genuinely exposing fraud, or is this a calculated move to shift public and legal scrutiny away from their failures? The truth, as it often is in such cases, lies somewhere in the murky middle, and uncovering it will be anything but straightforward.